He is the MP for Islington North, which has been since 1983.
He's also been involved in campaigning against Israel, for example, campaigning about the Middle East, and a lot of what you might call hard left causes.
Now, a few weeks back on this podcast, we looked at who was going to be in the race to become the next Labour leader. And we actually missed someone out during that discussion who's since thrown his hat in the ring. Jeremy Corbyn, who's the MP for Islington North in London, comes into the race now as a relative unknown. So who is he and what does he stand for? Well, I put these questions to the Labour Party commentator Rob Marchant and to Stephen Bush from the New Statesman. First up, here's what Stephen had to say.
Yeah, and he's traditionally been on Labour's far left. I mean, he's voted against the Labour Party official line more than any of the opposition parties in Parliament. He's a supporter of a variety of groups, some of which are controversial. So he's a long-standing supporter of Hamas and Hezbollah. He's an advocate for a sort of more radical form of socialism than really Labour's ever stood up for in any point in its history, with the exception of the 1983 election. Actually, the other sort of important thing about Jeremy Corbyn, and the reason why he got on the ballot this time and John McDonnell did not in 2007, is that he is actually personally a very courteous and likeable man, which is one of the reasons why lots of MPs who don't agree with him sort of thought, I like Jeremy.
Stephen, is he likely to get much support?
I mean, there's one thing we always forget is that David Miliband, the most right-wing candidate on the ballot, won 55% of the vote from Labour Party members last time. So if the Labour Party electorate looks like it did last time, then no. The big question now is, because of the way Labour's changed the system, anyone can join for £3, provided they are not a member of another political party. Are there 100,000 people out there who would like to be members of the Labour Party, want a more left-wing alternative than any of the three candidates, and are willing to spend £3 to do so? Possibly. So the question then is, how well organised is his campaign, and can they get those 100,000 people to sign up? So it's plausible that he can build a machine which is able to get him the votes he needs, but it's not very likely.
And is he popular on a local level?
Well, he's a hard-working constituency MP. I mean, I think one of the more dubious claims, and always does the round during internal elections, is I increased my majority, which is particularly dubious this time in Labour circles. The Liberal Democrats collapsed. And if you were in a London constituency in particular, that mostly handed you a large bank of young student, affluent voters on the left. Jeremy Corbyn increased his majority, Liz Kendall increased his majority. I don't think we can necessarily conclude from that either of them are going to play particularly well with swing voters, or either of them won't. So my MP, Diane Abbott, increased her majority by even more than Jeremy Corbyn. I love Diane, but I don't think she's a very good local MP, but I don't think that actually tells us very much about how the candidates will do.
Rob Marchant is a former Labour Party manager. He now writes for the centre-left bloc. So, Rob, how has Jeremy Corbyn got into this position where he's now on the ballot to become Labour leader?
Okay, so the ballot for Labour leader requires 35 MPs to nominate. And what happened was that earlier this week, when the nominations had to be in, they had several people had qualified already, 3 other candidates, but Jeremy Corbyn had not qualified himself. So what seemed to then happen was a rather unseemly scrabbling around between MPs to get last-minute nominations in, and people moving votes around in order that that his numbers could go up from sort of the early teens right up till 35, or certainly the mid-teens.
Do you think he's got a chance?
0. It's really, I mean, the only way that could possibly happen is if some unscrupulous people found some way of nobbling the process. So
what does having a hard left candidate like Jeremy Corbyn say about the Labour leadership race and the party in general?
Well, I think that's a very interesting question, which has kind of what was the theme of my blog piece earlier this week. I think that there is partly there's a feeling inside the Labour Party that if they think that somebody's a decent sort of a chap, then it's very quite acceptable to try and move things around in order to let them into a process. But I think there's also a second factor which is a bit more disturbing, which is that I think they thought that there would be hell to pay if somebody from that wing of the party was left off the list, whether or not that person actually deserved to get through on their own merits.
Do you think it's a good thing that he's running?
I think it's not a good thing, but that's not because of his political views. I think it's because of the fact that that somebody who gets onto the ballot paper needs to get there under their own steam, not through some kind of unseemly last minute shuffling around. I think that's the real thing, because I think it makes us as party members. I'm a party member. Makes us just look a bit inept.
And to find out whether or not Jeremy Corbyn or anyone else will become Labour leader, we'll have to wait until September, when the result is announced. And that's it for this week. We'll be back again next Friday. But in the meantime, do give us a follow on Twitter @PLMRLTD.